Thank you, Ms. Francis. Would you like to say some words or have a comment? Yeah.
Hello? Okay. Hi, good afternoon. I am Frances Kirkconnell. I'm the HSIR Academic Chair. HSIR is Health Sciences Institute at Renaissance. We are a school within DHR Health. Thank you for allowing us to be here today. And in 2020, a partnership was formed between the Lower Rio Grande Valley Workforce Development Board, Workforce Solutions, the Edinburgh Economic Development Corporation, EEDC, and the Health Sciences Institute at Renaissance, HSIR. The goal of this partnership was to provide job training in the higher demand specialties of allied health. By the end of 2021, HSIR trained and graduated 10 students with medical assistant certificates and 3 in diagnostic medical sonography. Of these 13 students, 4 Edinburgh residents were directly sponsored by the EEDC, and we have 2 of them here with us today. I'm proud to introduce you to Stephanie Caballero and Anel Candu. Both of these students recently completed the 12-month training program in medical assisting offered by HSIR. In addition, both students passed the Certified Clinical Medical Assistant exam offered by the National Health Career Association. Achieving this credential shows a dedication to their chosen field, demonstrating not only a proven level of knowledge, but also a desire for excellence. The partnership between Workforce Solutions, EEDC, and HSIR provided life-changing opportunities for these students. On behalf of the Health Sciences Institute at Renaissance, I would like to thank the EEDC board for their support and hope that this positive outcome will lead to future collaborations dedicated to improving the lives of our residents. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Good luck in the future.
Congratulations, guys, and to Stephanie and Nell, I just want to mention I'm an ER nurse, so I see a lot of MAs, a lot of people that start off as MAs, continue on the pathways there to get your RN. I've seen several MAs that go all the way to medical school. So this is the beginning, stepping stone, and I'm glad that we could have a small part in that. But just know that when you get there, don't settle for what you're doing. Keep your eyes open. Follow the paths of other people, and you'll find a path to be able to keep advancing your career. Congratulations.
Thank you, ladies. Do we have anybody else for public comments? All right, anybody's registered? Nope. Okay. Moving on to Director's Report. Agenda Item A, Economic Development Report.
We do have to establish quorum. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I thought I just called everyone up. Do we need to do roll call?
Okay. Hiren Govin, President.
Present.
Roland Gomez, Vice President.
Present.
Daniel Dan Diaz, Secretary.
Present.
Aaron Ronnie Rivera, Treasurer.
Present.
Veronica Gonzalez, Director. She's on Zoom. Yeah. Sabrina Walker Hernandez, Director.
Present.
And Raul Resendez, Director. And we have quorum.
Thank you. All right. So moving on to Agenda Item 4, Director's Report, Economic Development Report.
Yes. So in this month's report, we went ahead and included an unemployment statistics and also the sales tax for the previous months. So we do see that the city of Edinburgh for the month of December is at 4.9%, and it is tied with McAllen at 4.9% as the unemployment rate. And the Texas seasonally adjusted unemployment rate decreased by 0.2 to 5%. So I think as a state we're doing generally well. And from November to December, Edinburgh actually decreased their unemployment rate. So I think we're doing well on that end. For sales tax revenue, just note that the month that is reflected on your chart is 2 months prior. So what we see for January reflects the sales tax for November. So you can see that EDC received over $700,000 in sales tax for the month of January. But again, it reflects November. and then February will reflect the sales tax for December. And then also I know Director Veronica Gonzalez had an inquiry regarding how the city of Edinburgh compares to other cities in the RGV and across the state of Texas. So I know our finance director, Dagoberto Soto, included a breakdown of the cities in the RGV in the back of the report for your information. So you can see how Edinburgh is doing compared to other larger and smaller cities. So we do have two current projects.
Blanca.
Go ahead.
Thank you for the information. And actually, it's very good to see that Edinburgh is doing well on sales tax revenues across the valley. So thanks again for compiling that information.
Thank you. We do have two current projects right now. We have Siddons Martin Emergency Group and Jet Media that are pending to be closed so they can start their project. We can talk more about that in the item within our agenda. We do have 19 different prospects that we're still communicating with on an ongoing basis, and we can provide a deeper update in executive. So you can see where they're at with either incentive requests or just conversations that they're having with staff. We are looking at several expansions, relocations, and new businesses that are coming to Edinburgh. Our Reaching Out program, that's our business retention and expansion program that we have revamped. We are also continuously meeting with businesses that are here in Edinburgh and just checking in and seeing how they're doing, if there are any needs that they may have, and learning from what they're doing. We did schedule some brief meetings with some of the larger employers, and the board members were invited to attend. DHR, we did have one scheduled for January, but DHR is scheduled for mid-February, so you'll get an updated calendar for that. I know a couple of you wanted to visit with DHR as well and learn about their updates and what they're doing there at the hospital. The retail development aspect of things, the board attended the ICSC at Las Vegas conference with staff, and we did meet with a couple of the retailers that we are in communication with. We have followed up with them, and we're still in communication with them, and also Daniel, our broker from Coldwell Banker RGV, or Coldwell Banker Commercial RGV, is also assisting with ensuring that we are staying in touch with them. Our programs under marketing, I know one of our board members inquired about Google Analytics, so there is a report there. We do have about 895 users that visited the website in December, and on average, they stay about a minute and 15 seconds on the website. We do want to up that up to at least 2 to 3 minutes to ensure that they're getting the information that they need once they visit the website, or watch a video, or get incentive information, or just quality of life information that they need. Some of the top visited web pages are the homepage, resources, about us, and featured properties and incentives. So this is a good indication that people are actually visiting the webpage that they are intended to visit and get the information that they need. So this is a good sign. And 38.47% of traffic users are acquired through social media, and 26.1% via organic search, which is good. I mean, organic is on its own, but social media helps drive traffic to the website, which we're constantly trying to increase. And we're working with our media department to ensure that our social posts are always linked up to our website, and either site selectors or businesses or the community get to the web pages and information that they need.
Blanca, do we have anyone working on the SEO for the website?
SEO, yes. Yeah, we can provide an update on that. I know that when we were working with the marketing company, they did bring that up, but we can definitely provide an update on that in the next meeting. And then just a quick update on just other marketing aspects of things that we're doing. We are working with our city's graphic designer to develop some ads to run in some of the site selectors magazines, state and nationwide, but also locally, the Rio Grande Guardian, Texas Board of Business, and the RGV partnership. I know that they're working on their economic snapshot, so we will have some presence there in the magazine. And we're also working on social media, as I mentioned before, trying to increase some traffic for the EDC and the city of Edinburgh. And then in December, we just launched our newsletter, and that will be on a quarterly basis or as updates develop. I know the Spark was released in the beginning of January, so we did release another update via newsletter. And those can be found in the resources tab. Moving on to the HSIR, I know through public comment, we did have the teacher and 2 students attend and share an update, but again, to reshare, we did have 4 Edinburgh residents that were sponsored by the Edinburgh EDC. 2 were full tuition, meaning we paid $4,955 for their certification, and 2 partial tuitions, which we shared tuition with the EDC and the Workforce Solutions, and our share was $455 for that. So it was a great partnership. In total, they did have 10 students, and 7 students completed that, so 4 out of the 7 were Edinburgh residents, so that's a very good outcome. And then an update on the request for information, the RFIs that do come from the state. We did submit one of the projects, Project Sterile Label, and we were shortlisted for another project that was submitted back in July. We did send updated information, and we're waiting to hear back to see if we make the final cut or we're up for a visit. So we'll keep you updated on that. And Brian, did you have any updates or? I'm sorry? The year-end numbers. Yeah. Well, I'll turn it over to Brian now.
Just one more item for the report. We're working on year-end numbers in terms of new taxable value, both commercial and residential, and the total number of new homes permitted, and the number of new businesses that have opened. So it did kind of a preliminary look this week. And again, we'll have this finalized, and we'll publish it and send it out to everybody. But it's looking like we've got, in all of calendar 21, we had more than 100 million in new commercial permitted. We had about 135 million in new residential permitted, and nearly 1,400 new housing units permitted, all well above where the city was in the prior year. And again, we're still working on the final list, but we are upwards of 50 new businesses opening over the calendar year. So I think all in all, and it's a pretty successful year for us.
Some great numbers.
And there is one more update that Mr. Garza will provide. They're on the bond projects, the Dule, the Beethoven, and Capable Kids.
Good afternoon, board. Let me see if I can first share my screen real quick. Nope, it doesn't look like it's connecting, but I do have some good news to share that the Cultural Arts Advisory Board, they met today at noon and unanimously passed the footprint that we talked about here. And thank you, the EDC president stayed after our last joint meeting. We stayed a few hours, and we worked up a model, basically removing the staff, the 4,000 square feet, kind of removing some things and moving that around, but it actually worked out, I think, for the best in terms of the goals of the EDC, as far as having some business conferences, things like that. So we're really excited about the footprint. If I can get this connecting, let me see if I try it one more time. I'm trying to connect onto your. No, it's not going to let me do it. But I'll email you the footprint. But essentially, we were able to add. So we took one of those classrooms and actually shortened it up and made a computer lab. So one of those computer labs also serves as kind of a business center. So when we have business conferences, you have a business center, which actually also serves as a conference room, which is something we didn't have, a dedicated smaller space. So added a lot of capacity to the restrooms. The cultural arts staff and the communication staff, those are the ones that are going to be in there. But basically we just, the footprint stayed the same, but with the advent of removing those staff spots, we were able to kind of clean up the space a bit more. So I definitely support it. I'm really happy that they were 100% happy with it. And we're now, tomorrow I'll be signing the documents to move us to the next phase of the project. So we're back on schedule for that project. So happy to report that. So that's the ACE project. The garage, just so you know, I'll work backwards from some of these. The garage, City Council did select ERO architects. We already had the preliminary meeting there. So design scope, things like that. From a design standpoint, it's a pretty straightforward project. But specific to the EDC, you guys will have some input sessions later down the road once we parcel out the retail area. So that's something we'll be bringing back to you. So council will be considering the final version of that contract February 15th. And after that, the project officially launches. The design phase is going to be about 4 months, relatively short. So, and then once we kind of kick that back and forth in about 6 months, we'll be procuring out and then actually breaking ground on the facility. So it's a fairly short turnaround, so really excited about that one. El Tule is on schedule. They had a little bit of delays because of the, that building, a lot of portions are metal fabrication. So some of that has a bit of a delay, but they're moving steady enough to catch back up. But if you haven't seen the El Tule project, full foundation has been poured. They've already poured the foundation. They're doing a lot of the flat work. You can actually already see the 10-foot hike and bike trail because it's going to have an enclosed hike and bike trail loop through that block. So that's good. So all that has already been poured. So we're looking at the September timeframe, barring any other weather events or things like that. But we'll be ribbon cutting that project in September. So Capable Kids, we have 2 projects there. The first one is the Vanguard. So we did confirm that the final schedule is now released, and by the end of February, that'll be complete. We have already earmarked February 22nd as a Tuesday, February 22nd, that morning, which is the date of your next EDC meeting, I believe. But that morning is what we're earmarking right now for potential ribbon cutting. So if you remember that there was portions that we were going to do and portions that Vanguard themselves were going to construct. So they're doing that as the big part of their secondary campus expansion. So some of that may not be ready, but all the stakeholders and the project team are determining, is that enough to actually ribbon cut? But we don't want to sit there to where our portion of the project is done and we're kind of waiting on them. So we're kind of flexing that. But right now, a light pencil of February 22nd for ribbon cutting. Excited to have that going. And then the last one is Capable Kids Cove. That one's in the final portions of design phase. So just to remind you of that one is part of a full reconstruction and redevelopment of our swimming pool. The first one is the bathhouse area, the entrance, all that area, phase 1, which we just bid that out. City Council will be considering that actually February 1st. And then the second phase is the back half, which is the full inclusive water park. So that's on the final portion of design. We should be bidding that out by February and probably breaking ground in that by late March, if all goes well. So all those are on track. What? Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you, Brian. Okay, if I'm connected, can you pull up my monitor? There we go. Good. Okay, I'll just take you real quick top to bottom, but you know most of the footprint, but just little changes that I'll take you through. Bathrooms, we actually, even beyond what I talked about, expanding some of the restroom footprint, we actually were able to clean up the areas, that's the AV and the electrical and custodial, so we actually got more stalls in place there. So bigger restrooms, that's always good. If you look at the lobby, something that we added in there on the left-hand side, there's that little blocks of reception. So we now have a physical space for a staff member to work out of in the front. So, and that's in addition to across the hall, which is that prep bar area. So, and the first classroom, so to speak, will be the one that you see to the furthest south there. It's that computer lab. So right accessible to that, and it'll be something to where it'll have glass walls. So, if you're in there, you'll be able to see some of the activity going on around you. But that one, again, multi-purpose there, can serve as a computer lab for graphic design, can serve as a business center, can serve as a conference room, executive conference room. So that's good. Classrooms, so that did influence the shape. So Art Classroom 1 and Art Classroom 2, those will have a dividable space, and those, number 1 and number 2, are going to be kind of the general purpose classrooms. These are the ones that during a business conference would be used for breakout sessions. You could use it as one continuous breakout session, one larger, or you can actually break it into 2. But as you can see there with the computer lab too, you'll have a lot of accessibility. And one thing that we really tried to do is, in the event that the full ballroom is split in half, and let's just say we have a 6-month exhibition going on the south, the north half of the ballroom can be used independently. So things that we did there is that up by the food prep area, and we expanded the food prep area, but if you see on the very corner there, you'll see a secondary bar. And we also did that because if you want a bar during using just the north half of the ballroom, you also have a serviceable bar off the food prep area. And then you'll have your entrance, so those restrooms that are kind of located in the middle, they were originally purposed for staff, so they were very small. It had one single stall apiece. So we reconfigured some things, so that one is substantially larger. So if you have a conference going on that you're only using the north half, you can use those that are right off the conference room, off the ballroom, to avoid you from walking all the way down to the ones in the front. So a little more accessibility there. And then Art Classroom 3 and Art Classroom 4, those are the ones that are very specifically dedicated. So those will have multiple sinks. So you can see there on some of the flat work, they have multiple sinks. They have some storage. That's something that we added in. And those also have vents. So they'll have exhaust vents. So if they're doing any kind of, pottery or any, art that has some, fumes involved with that, completely kind of takes it out of the building there. And then we put the dance floor at the very top, because that will have more sound isolation, so the dance won't influence anything going on with the ballroom. So something we did too is the staff space, we actually reconfigured and swapped it around. So now the studio or black box theater, as you can see now, it's adjacent right off of all the classrooms. And if you see where the doors are lined up, if there's a performance or something going on where you need changes or things like that, you can have access to the green room, but then go straight across the hall into the studio black box. So it has another purpose if you need a large costume changing type facility, private area, you have that, as well as make-ready rooms, voiceover rooms, things like that. And then we built that corridor to we have all that staff space. And the good news is that we won't have just one staff department. We'll actually have one staff department and then one division in there with cultural arts. So, and then the storage, we just cleaned that up. Instead of having some of those hallways, we just made the boxes bigger, essentially. So we absolutely maximized the footprint. What that allowed us to do, because this was a point of discussion, is those exhibit walls, in or out, and what's the preference. And definitely, after much discussion, definitely the fixed stage was something that was a priority to keep, and definitely the exhibit walls inside. After that discussion was determined that it would definitely be a feature that no other venue of this size would have. And if you look at the western walls, it's almost continuous exhibition space all across. So that would be something really grand.
Are people going to be turning on the lights and off as somebody walks in and out?
Well, usually with an exhibition like that, you'd have hours for exhibition. So, if somebody's, so generally speaking, the ballroom, so say you have 2 or 3 classes going on programming-wise, generally the ballroom would be closed. So it would be dark. It would be dark in the ballroom. So you'd have certain hours, obviously if there's groups, if there's exhibitions, that kind of thing.
I'm saying like a regular just business day.
Yeah.
Regular business day, so no one will be able to go in there.
Yeah, regular business day, most things will be closed, but obviously in the if somebody does want to go in there to see something specific, member of the public, generally cultural arts staff will be with them. So,
See, that's where it gets,
yeah.
from an efficiency, doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Well, one thing that we anticipate probably more so happening is, when there's a true exhibition going on, that the bottom half, that divider is closed and the bottom half is set up as a full type museum setup. That would be, like any other exhibition, run on certain days, hours, that kind of thing. So, but a lot of those things, that's just programming. We're just going to have to figure out what works and what doesn't and when. But most likely, the exhibition hours for things that are in there, they're going to be by hours. So certain hours are for viewing, that kind of thing.
Ron, on the corridors where the red lines are those sliding doors?
Sabrina, where is that again?
Where you have solid red lines on each of the corridors, like corridor B, you see the red line, corridor D has a red line. Are those sliding doors? The only reason I ask is because you mentioned that the rooms were glass, so that you can see into them. I know when we built our facility, that's what we thought about too, it being glass. But, and I hate to say this, but you have to think like this as far as safety. But for active shooters, if that is glass, then those doors need to have some type of safety mechanism to them.
Yeah, so what those doors are called, I don't know the name. We actually have one right down the hallway here.
Okay.
But they're large doors that are generally open up against the wall. Nobody ever notices them. Mm-hmm. But in the event that you want to close one section of the building, you close that door off. So it serves security, but really for fire, for close off, and really for just functionality.
Okay.
But yeah, I think there's 4 of them.
Ron, on the art side, were the entrances on the sides, was that eliminated? Or is that what that corridor D is?
The corridor D is going to be the main entrance in and out of those. Corridor B, corridor D. We can put that, and that's something that we can discuss later. But again, that's a lot of kind of different points of egress that we have to be monitoring. So that just may be a lot to manage. I think, obviously you have the main lobby, and then you have 2 separate corridors specifically for that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Alrighty. Okay. Thank you.
Do you need any action from us on this one?
No, these are just updates. Yeah, we're going to be revising the timetable. This probably pushes us back 45, 60 days, somewhere in that neighborhood. But once we have that revised timetable, we'll get it back to you.
Sounds good. Any more questions or comments for Ron Blanca, Brian? No?
Ron, who was present at this meeting? I know you said that you finally agreed to it, but as you know, when we all come together, they kind of said some didn't see it. So did you have a majority of people there with the cap?
In terms of the cap, so yeah, I mean, as far as I know, they had quorum and they voted on it. It was an action item and they unanimously voted. And Councilmember De Leon was there present too. I was not.
Great.
Yeah.
And no more questions? Moving on to regular agenda item A, consider the absence of Secretary Dan Diaz for November 30th, 2021 meeting.
Mr. President, here,
Sorry?
there's a Spark report.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were all... Go ahead.
I'm going to share my screen. Okay. We just wanted to provide an update on how we're doing with Spark. I have shared my screen. If we can share the screen in the... I don't think... They're about to share the screen on the presentation. Can we share the presentation on the screens, please? I'll start off by giving a background on it. So before they share the screen. So the Spark was rolled out in the summer of 2020 when the pandemic was in its full-blown rampage, right? So that was the first round of Spark, and shortly after, around August and September, there was the second round. And then we did a third round in 2021, and now we're doing a fourth round, which launched in January. We still haven't shared the screen. So for the first round of 2020 and 2021 combined, we did invest $2 million in the business grant, and we did an assistance to the families, which was a gift cards program. It was a $1.8 million that we invested in the resident gift cards. And that money was, each resident would get a $100 gift card and then would be able to spend it in the businesses that actually received a business $2,000 grant. So that was how we were able to create our own Spark money economy in Edinburgh. And now this Spark 4.0, we were able to create 2 new programs that were home-based, for home-based businesses, and a facade improvement program. And the updates on those are, we did receive about 119. Sorry about that. So moving on to the home-based business program, we did receive about 119 applications. We have approved 40 applications, and we're still reviewing 79 applications. We did have to create a waiting list because we did exhaust funds. So we are waiting to close out this program to see how we can support those 99 businesses that are on the waiting list. We did have a starting budget of $176,000, and our remaining budget as of today is $96,200.
Blanca, you're on mute on Zoom.
Oh, they're supposed to hear me. But, all right. They should be able to listen to me on Zoom. Veronica, can you hear me? No, she cannot hear me. The COE administrator is on Zoom, on mute. Marco.
I'm trying to admit him.
Okay.
Go ahead.
There. Veronica, can you hear me? Okay, yes.
We're good? Sorry, everyone.
Thank you.
Technical
I can hear
issues.
you now. Mhm.
Yes, sorry, apologies about that. So I'll go ahead and start with the home-based business program. Thank you, Marco. So for the home-based business program, we were able to start a new program in January, and we have received 119 applications so far. The approvals to date are 40 applications, and we are still pending to review 79. We did have to create a waiting list because we did get a surmountable amount of applications, and they are 99 of those applicants will have to be in a waiting list. For the recap of the budget, we did start with $176,000, and we are at $96,000 remaining. So hopefully, once we review all the applications, we can look at the waiting list and see what we could do for them, because I know that there's some need out there. So moving on to the facade improvement program, this is a unique program that we've done different to the traditional Spark program. Traditionally, we do a $2,000 grant to businesses, but this time around, we were able to launch a facade improvement that the money could be spent to the improvements of the exterior of their business, and they could get reimbursed up to $10,000. So that could mean anything from paint, from signage, minor repairs for their windows, doors, anything regarding lighting on the exterior of the building. And we have received 102 applications to date, and we have reviewed mostly all of them, but it is a lengthier process because planning and zoning is involved as they are repairs for the facade of their business. So they are getting pre-approvals, and then their final approval will be once they receive their permit. And then once they complete their project, they submit their documentation, their receipts, to economic development staff, so then we can assess, and then we can start the reimbursement up to $10,000. Yes. It's still open as of today. It's still open, but we are reaching our point where we will have to close. Our starting budget is $850,000, and it's still remaining at $850,000 because we are waiting to get those final reimbursement receipts to see the exact number. So we're gauging it up to $10,000 per business applicant. So we're probably going to get about 85 businesses if they do end up getting the reimbursement up to $10,000. They may get less, they may get $7,000, they may get $6,000, depending on their expenses. But they can submit for up to $10,000. That's the cutoff.
Is there an area that we're concentrating on, or is it all Edinburgh?
So there is a specific focus on the downtown corridor, and we define that as starting from the Expressway, East University, all the way to the courthouse. So it is this main corridor here.
So all the way from I-69 on University to the courthouse?
Yes, I-69 all the way to the square and the courthouse. Those take priority. We do have about 10 of those businesses that have applied, and we've already passed out flyers to the businesses to encourage them to apply, since we definitely want to beautify that corridor, as that's the main entrance, right, as people come into the courthouse and City Hall and the university, and just all this area of university. But it is also open to the entire city of Edinburgh within the city limits. If they're outside the city limits, unfortunately, they will not be able to qualify.
Like on the facade, I had a couple of businesses tell me that they were, I guess when they inquired, they were asked to submit plans and to hire an architect. What's the process? I know we're trying to help some of the businesses, but a couple of the smaller ones, they don't even have the funding to start doing that.
Right, yes.
Especially if it's a paint job, why would you submit?
So if it's a paint job, they don't need a permit, right? They are being assessed by the development services team. And unfortunately, sometimes they do require a design depending on the improvement, it's a lengthier process. But I mean, that would have to be a question that's answered by the development services team. But I do know for a fact that if it's paint, they do not need a permit. That's something that they could do and just paint on their own. But again, if it's signage, they have to abide by the EEDC code or the minor repairs that will have to be assessed by the development services team. And we do have a group that is working on this program. And what is important to note is that all of the fees are waived on our end. If they're participating in this program, they will not have to submit an application fee for the city of Edinburgh. But yeah, unfortunately, I can get an answer for that on the architect specifically on that, and we'll get back to you.
We have a group, you said we have a group working on, what kind of group?
Yes, so we have someone from building code involved, and then we have someone from planning and zoning to review the plans that they submit, because if they are making repairs, they do have to submit some plans and an application that they are going to make some improvements to their business on the exterior, and that they're participating in the facade improvement. So we're all looped in a group, including myself, my staff, planning and zoning rep, and the building code rep as well.
Are we concentrating the facade improvements to a certain area, given priorities, maybe like around downtown, around the courthouse, or how are we doing that?
Yes, Mr. Ronnie asked the same question. So it is from I-69, East University Drive, around the courthouse. That's one of our focuses. We definitely want to beautify that corridor. As people come in, that's the first thing they see. But it is open to the rest of the city, but the businesses have to be inside the city limits. Unfortunately, if they're outside the city limits, they will not be able to qualify.
And what are we doing to just think of uniformity? If we are trying to beautify the area, right, Midtown, around the courthouse, so what are we doing to at least understand if there's going to be one that got the grant, it's going to have a facade, the one in the middle did, and the one next to him did? What are we doing to unify that?
Yes, we're actually doing block walking. We're actually walking down East University and passing out flyers and encouraging them to apply. We already did that the first week of when the Spark program opened for the facade improvement program, and we're probably going to have to do it again, as we definitely want to encourage all of the businesses to apply here on the East University Drive, because that probably will happen. If we have to pay them a visit 2-3 times and encourage them and assist them to fill out the application, we can do that.
I guess I have a question with regards to uniformity on what they're. Is there any requirements, or that they have to stay within certain boundaries or colors or schemes, or anybody can paint any color they want, basically?
Somehow I was muted. They have to, the development services team will have to review that. I know that there's like a color scheme for the downtown, particularly for the downtown, and there's some things included in the UDC that are actually being updated right now. But once we start meeting with the development services team, I can have more information. That we haven't started that yet, as we're still reviewing the applications. But as soon as we start that, we'll probably have more details on that, more specifics on.
So what I was trying to get to with all the questions is that maybe we could have had an architect chosen by staff, or they kind of help keep everybody uniform, and I mean, for lack of a better word, have them a retainer for the businesses that don't have the money to create something and kind of get the process started, so we make sure we get a good uniform look.
Councilmember, ultimately, it would have been nice, when we were imagining that we could create a look, so to speak. But unfortunately, there's really a lot of restrictions right now that state law prohibits municipalities from enforcing certain standards when it comes to aesthetics. So really, as long as it meets the UDC, we basically have to let them do it. So, and then, kind of to your question, we know there's going to be some cases where some do, even though the staff, I think they're doing a great job soliciting the program. But if these two people choose to do it, and then this one does not, well, we could have some of those kind of outliers. But, and something that we talked with the staff, this has been real popular in terms of applications, but we'd like to see more from that corridor area. It was just a small, slim number. That's why we purposely, from an administration standpoint, we earmarked most of the budget for the corridor. So, and then obviously council can decide later if they want to slide that over or what they want to do, but we're really trying to give first priority to those along the university corridor.
Unfortunately, we
Question
can't
is,
require
oh.
them to use certain materials anymore. Lots of things have changed.
Can y'all hear me? I have a question.
Yes, please go ahead, Veronica.
Okay, so just to be sure, Blanca, I understand, do the folks get approval before they, I mean, do they have to go and spend the money first in getting the plans drawn up and then get approval from you, and then they submit their receipts and then get their money? Or do they get approval from you based on the idea that they have, and then they go and, because I don't think people will feel comfortable maybe in spending money up front and then not to be approved, you know what I mean? So just trying to get an understanding of that process.
Yes, that's a very good question. The process, so the businesses have to apply, staff reviews, and if they meet the eligible expenses, then they are pre-approved per se. They're not completely approved because we don't want the businesses to go out and spend some money that they think they're going to get reimbursed and then not. They're pre-approved, meaning they're getting the pass to the development services phase. And once they get into the development services phase, they have to review with that team the plans, the design, and then they have to get approval by getting their permit. And then once they get the permit, that's their cue to, yes, you can start your project, you can start accruing expenses, keep your receipts, and the project has to be completed by October 1st. And all of their receipts will have to be submitted by then as well, so staff can start to review. And then they can get reimbursed up to $10,000, up to. So it could be anything less than that.
Blanca, how does that tie in with the Midtown Development Board and how moving forward that's going to work? And is there any tie-in there, or is it just completely different?
The Midtown is still in works, right? But it's a little different, I guess.
Yeah, technically it's really different because obviously the facade, we're targeting those businesses that are already erected. So, I mean, Midtown will have its own design concept from the get-go as part of the development. So,
But it's the core focus of the area is the same though, right?
well, yeah, but quite honestly, the reason why the corridor was such a focus is because obviously it's a front door to our community here, but a lot of that is just not visually appealing. So, without saying it too frankly, we were trying to target those ugly businesses that have that facade that need to just improve. So that's a reality because if you recall, what we're trying to do is do this now because we're about to enter significant construction along that corridor for some time. But once that comes in, we'll have kind of the brick overlay, the street light program, things like that. So hopefully at that point it'll kind of marry. So.
Veronica, was your question answered?
Sorry, I was trying to unmute. Yes, I think so. So I think I got it. I mean, they apply, they're going to get a pre-approval, and then it's going to go to the folks that have to decide on the plan and design and get permits issued, you said, and then they can start incurring expenses and submit all those by October 1st. And if they're reimbursable, they'll get up to $10,000.
Yeah, they should be. If they've gone up to that point, they should be. The improvements need to be made to the actual structure, to the business structure. We did get a lot of inquiries for their parking lot, and that's not part of their structure. We want things like their awnings, paint, signage, window repair, door repair, things of that nature, murals on the side of their buildings. We want to look to beautify the aspect of the building. So yeah, it's screened by economic development staff, and then development services staff, which is planning and zoning and building code staff, and then they'll get the green light to start their project. So it's a process. And in the website we have we laid out the steps. We did a flow chart for them, so they know where they need to be by a certain amount of by the month, I guess. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, and then they can get reimbursed. And it's an estimate, right? Because every project is different. So if they do need extra time, they do need to follow up with me or with staff so we can evaluate the project and extend their project completion date, because I know that some of the repairs are extensive in some instances.
Yeah, and the reason I was just asking is because for some businesses, we were talking about some businesses may apply and some may not. And because in a sense, the business has to front the cost. And so there may be some businesses that are not prepared to front cost. They were going to do it because they were going to get money to use it to do these. And if they're going to front the cost, they may not be in that position to do it, especially right now during the pandemic. So I was just wondering the process, but thank you. You've explained it very well.
Thank you. Questions? Other
I was
questions?
going to say, just keep in mind supplies and stuff are also hard to find these days.
Yes, yeah, we did put a disclosure there in the webpage as people review their eligibility requirements that if they do foresee any delays, to let us know so we can take that into account. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Any more questions for Blanca?
Thank you, Blanca. Thank you very much.
All right, moving on to regular agenda item A, consider the excusing absence of Secretary Dan Diaz for November 30th meeting. Motion.
Motion to approve. Okay.
Second.
All in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries with one abstention. Moving on to agenda item B, consider the approval of the board minutes for November 30th meeting. If everybody's had a chance to review, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second the motion.
All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving on to agenda item C, consider the approval and sponsorship for Edinburgh Chamber of Commerce 53rd Annual Fiesta Edinburgh event. And I believe Ronnie is here to present.
Yes. Hi, Ronnie. You go ahead.
Good afternoon. Ronnie Laralde, Executive Director of Edinburgh Chamber of Commerce. Thank you guys for having us today. We appreciate everything you do for our community and especially the business community. Thank you for always supporting the Edinburgh Chamber of Commerce. We have our Fiesta Edinburgh. It's the 53rd annual event that's happening quickly at the end of February. We haven't had this event since 2020. It was right before the pandemic struck. We plan to have this event at HEB Park. Of course, our partners at the city and the EDC, the police, the fire, serve a great partnership for this event and to help it run smoothly. So we're looking at the end of February. I believe the packet was provided for you. Your partnership goes a long way for this event. Our last event we had was Texas Cookem, which went very well over the summer. But we're excited to welcome back Fiesta Edinburgh this year. And I'm going to try to play a video, or I can pass it on to Marco to play a video of the last Fiesta. There you go. That was a longer version of the video, sorry.
If you put that on again, we're going to start dancing, right?
Like I said, we're excited to have this community event, part of the quality of life in Edinburgh. It's something we can provide to the business community and our citizens. And of course, we bring top-notch entertainment to this event. We're getting ready to have a press conference on Monday to announce the artist for this Fiesta Edinburgh. We're excited to have some unique shows and welcome again some first-timers to the city of Edinburgh. We like to have new and fresh artists play at these type of events. So we would love to have the continued support from the Edinburgh EDC for this event, and I'm open to any questions or comments if you guys have any.
I know it's been since right before COVID that you had the last one, but post-COVID you guys had, or during COVID, whatever we're going to call it these days, we had Texas Cookum, turned out great. All y'all's events have been amazing, and Fiesta Edinburgh is a Edinburgh tradition that I think we love to participate in every year.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree, Ronnie. Anything for the community, and as Hiran said, the president said, it's a great event. I'm glad you guys do it.
Yeah.
Bonnie, this is Veronica. I know I can't vote on this because I'm on the Edinburgh Chamber Board, but what is our average attendance usually for the Fiesta Edinburgh events?
Well, it is a 4-day event. So, if anybody has been there on Thursday, it's a big driver for the community as far as a special day. So we see upwards of 5,000 people that day. On average, is about 25 to 3,000 people the remaining 3 days. So upwards in total, getting close to 10,000 in people for the entire 4-day event.
Thank you.
Any more questions or comments, Ron?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Ronnie.
Yes.
So maybe you answered that already, but how does it compare to Texas Cookum and attendance-wise?
Well, Texas Cookum is a 1-day event, so we see close to 5 this year. It's usually, we knocked it out of the park. I think between the city and all our partners, it was a 1-day event. We did have a great showing there, and we estimated 8,000 people at the 4th of July event. The difference was, we brought it into town. So I can honestly feel that moving forward, our Cookum is going to give a little competition to this festival, especially, its location, the patriotic side of it. But they're both comparable now. So.
Thank you.
So on that note, Ronnie, what the location? What decided the deciding factor to keep it at HEB Park and not bring it back into town like the Texas Cookum?
Yeah. So a lot of it has to do with we've kind of brainstormed. The biggest concern with bringing Fiesta down to Ebony would be the carnival. So having the two components separate from the staging and the carnival aspect, you kind of want to keep everything close together, and it would be very difficult to do that at Ebony because of the size of the carnival. They like to be on solid ground. We tried to see if we can fit them where the cooks are at, but obviously with the rain, in February's forecast, they'd feel much comfortable if they were on an asphalt type of environment.
Thank you.
Any more questions for Ronnie? Thank you very much. I will
Thank you.
entertain a motion to approve the sponsorship for Fiesta Edinburgh.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Ronnie. Moving on to agenda item D, consider the approval and term waiver for the incentive payments for TPUTRGV LLC.
Yes, thank you, President Huron. So this item is for the Taco Palenque and the Palenque Grill incentive agreement that we have. We did present last year a waiver that they asked for the board to waive the second installment due to COVID-19, experience hardship, right, resulting from COVID-19, and the board approved that back in February 2021. So we're here 2022, and they are requesting a waiver for their third and final installment for the Taco Palenque. They were not able to meet their employee criteria or term that were 50 employees for the location of the Taco Palenque, but they were able to meet the 50 employee requirement for the Palenque Grill, and that's located in the shops. So they did meet one, did not meet the Taco Palenque one, and they're requesting a waiver from the board so they can get paid out their third and final installment.
Blanca, the last time I think they were here, they did get the waiver, but they were very close to meeting.
They were. They missed it by very little.
Right.
But I do have the numbers here. So for this year, their anniversary for the Taco Palenque, which is here on University, their anniversary, they had 31 employees, and their requirement is to have 50 employees. They did show some effort, and they are on Zoom right now. They have a presentation that they want to present to you all, but they did show efforts on trying to hire employees. They did attend the hiring events from UTRGV, from the city, from workforce. They did post on social media on different times of the month this year. So they did submit all that documentation that they did, in fact, try to hire people, but they just could not meet. But every month that passed by, they were losing an employee or two, and they would hire some back, and then they would lose an employee or two again. And then by the time the anniversary came around in September, they're at 31.
So if we took into account unduplicated, would it have reached 50? You know how, like, you hire someone leaves, but all the hires consecutively would have been more than 50?
No.
Yes.
No?
Well,
Yes.
I mean, I guess yes, if they're on here. Yeah, go ahead.
You mean like a carousel?
The average employee count, basically the past year was 37, the average payroll count. We experienced the payroll crisis, the shortage, and that affected getting to the goal of 50. But yeah, there's where we stand basically. And also right now, what I want to let you know that I just called the marketing department. We didn't know you had that beautiful festival, the Fiesta Edinburgh. We would love to participate. I will call our marketing manager to see if we can still get into there and be a sponsor or participate with something. We would love to.
What is your starting rate, sir?
Can you repeat the question?
What is your starting rate for employment? What do you pay someone who just to start?
Right now, across the group, since May last year, since the labor crisis started, salaries started going up. So an average right now on starting, it's around 12 in the valley, and that's the starting point right now, between 12 and 13.
But that's the valley. But where are you starting? But if someone were to walk in your restaurant today and say, I want to work the check stand, or just at what rate would you start them?
Yeah, Humberto, the starting payroll per hour, ¿con cuánto empezamos pagando ahí en Edinburgh? Más para no estar...
Y estamos pagando alrededor de entre 9, 9.50, 10.
Okay.
Depende mucho de la experiencia que tenga el anfitrión, ¿verdad? Pero sí, pues estamos siendo, digamos, competitivos.
I was wrong.
I would
So
offer
if somebody gets there, we start paying around $9.50.
Yeah. I would offer, that may be your opportunity in terms of offering higher wage jobs. $9.50
Yeah.
is hard to hire somebody at $9.50 when you can go to McDonald's, Burger King, and what have you. So unfortunately, a lot of folks in business, we tend to look at there's a human resource issue, but I would offer there's a pay issue in terms of folks in business to offer more competitive wages in order to ensure a livable wage. So I would offer to look at that $9.50 and see what truly folks in your industry are paying, and I would offer you're about $3 below that.
You will what?
I would bet you're about $3 below what the industry charges or is paying,
okay.
I'm sorry,
Below.
for that type of work. And so, it goes back to is it really a human capital, or in terms of people you're not able to hire, or is it because of your starting wage?
Okay. We will take into consideration. Yes, sir.
I had a question regarding that. Are you having a hard time getting applicants to apply, or what is going? I know that there's a shortage of employees all over the area, especially with restaurants. I've gone to a few restaurants where they're not able to open up because they don't have employees. Is that one of the reasons that you've come up short? Are you having a problem hiring people?
Yes, there's some facts that we were on the job fair in Edinburgh, and we did some marketing efforts also to bring people in, and we offered them like basically a career with Taco Palenque. But yeah, even though we did some efforts, we have been having trouble to get people in.
Yeah, I'm glad you're bringing that up, Ronnie.
But even I manage, for example, the San Antonio area. But even in San Antonio and in Broncos, here, our market, I can tell that we are in some cases starting at 15, and still we're having the same issues on getting people.
Yeah, and so
in the rest to get to work in the restaurants, in the
Right.
kitchen,
And so, in my experience, and not to take away from your point, Raul, but I campaigned this entire year, and I was involved in all the up and down the restaurants, and you see a lot of owners actually serving at restaurants because the incentives or the COVID relief was a lot better than actually going to work. So I applaud Taco Palenque. I would go there a lot, and I still see a lot of employees, and their quality never faltered. It was always very fast, and I'm glad to have them in Edinburgh. And I just think it's a systemic thing for that class of, for the Mexican food. Everywhere I went, it was like they would have to diminish their menu, lessen their hours, because the owners were actually out there serving you. So I commend you, gentlemen, for running the operation that you're running.
Right. I know that there is some restaurants even that are just opening up their drive-thru. They're not having people serve people inside the restaurant because they
don't
can't
have enough
hire
people. Correct.
And I'm with Dan in that we appreciate the businesses that you have and the way you've been servicing Edinburgh. And I think you guys do a good job. And I hope things change for you all because I know that you guys are struggling, especially with that.
The wages matter, though. Wages matter is what I'm saying.
Yes.
That you can recruit. I know there's a lot of folks out there who are transitioning like no other time in history.
Correct.
And they're transitioning because of pay.
Yeah.
And anybody will tell you that who researches human resource capital, it's an issue of pay.
You're going elsewhere.
So, you tell me to try to hire 50 people at $9 an hour, I'm going to have problems today. But I can hire them at 12 to 14 to 15.
Yeah. So we've been in. I was on a restaurant convention, the biggest one in the U.S. A couple of months ago, and yeah, well, I'm with you. In other words, wages matter, but nowadays more than the money, it's about being flexible. Being flexible with everything going with the pandemic, how people, the type of employees that work in restaurants, it changed. It changed, you know, before, people that we had before working with us now prefer working on just delivering things, as an example, you know, delivering to Uber Eats or DoorDash instead of being in the kitchen working, you know. So we've been doing all the efforts possible, you know, to have our stores operating across all the Palenque group of restaurants, you know. But yeah, thanks for your comments. We agree too.
I can share on that as well. But monetary is changing. Sure. We've increased prices, our wages, offered health insurance, benefits, etc. But getting individuals to come into what they consider more of a, you know, high traffic area, is more scared of COVID, is probably been the number one concern. So like,
yes, and what we have been observing is, by saying flexible, is that we have a strong team that for years that are the ones that really helps us, you know, across the board, you know, but being flexible now is by hiring new employees, we hire them, and sometimes they work 2-3 days, next day they don't want to come, or they don't come, they don't show up. That's the normal right now with the employees. Dime, Humberto.
Sí. Otro problema, ahorita para no completar los 50 personas, Melo, es porque no hemos abierto el tercer turno.
Okay.
Tenemos desde que inició la pandemia trabajando nada más 2 turnos. Entonces, seguimos trabajando nada más con 2 turnos, okay, precisamente porque por efecto de la pandemia, nuestro, digamos, nivel de venta en la noche, pues todavía no justifica el abrir un turno, ¿verdad? O sea, la ciudad se muere, o sea, la ciudad se muere a las 9, 10 de la noche, o sea, entonces, realmente ese es el problema fuerte por el que no llegamos a los 50. Es más bien una...
Humberto is our payroll director. What he's saying, we opened the store in Edinburgh operating 24 hours. Unfortunately, since the pandemic came in March 2020, we closed we were obligated to close with a curfew, the night shift. And we've been trying to do the analysis to reopen it, but still we think it's too early to have it 24 hours. Hopefully, by the end of this year or 2023, all the forecasts are positive in regards to after, if we have an end with the pandemic, we would love to have the store operating 24 hours to bring more employees and be there, in Edinburgh.
So how many employees would you hire for that night shift?
Well, for a night shift, we hired from Monday to Wednesday, we operate the stores around with 7 people. And in the weekends, it goes up on a range from 12 to 15, Fridays and Saturdays.
Okay.
President here.
So on a shift, on average, would be like 50 employees on that shift.
So that would be 15 additional employees, correct?
Out of the 37, yes.
Okay.
They have a presentation that, if you want, they can go through, and maybe more of your questions will be answered. They did prepare something for you.
Yes, please.
¿Comparto la pantalla, Blanca?
Sí, and sí, Mr. Alanis. And for the record, Mr. Humberto Alanis and Manuel Villarreal, they're the reps for Taco Palenque. I don't think we introduced them, so.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you guys.
Blanca, no sé si sería posible que pudiera continuar esta parte de la Junta en español. ¿Se podrá? ¿El board estará de acuerdo?
Board, President? In Spanish, is it okay?
Yeah, that's fine, yes.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Alanis, está bien.
Gracias, gracias Blanca. Como quiera, si requiero algún dato que se requiera traducir al inglés, aquí mi compañero Melo o Airam me podrían asistir en esa parte. Bien, bueno, pues primero que nada, esta es la agenda que tenemos para la presentación. Empezamos con la carta donde estamos solicitando en este caso el apoyo. El segundo punto que vamos a presentar aquí es cómo se ha comportado en este caso las ventas. Traemos una comparativa de ventas de este año del 2021 contra el 2020 y ver cómo ha estado el comportamiento de las mismas. Después queremos también compartirles una serie de pruebas que hemos hecho con respecto al esfuerzo para contratar personal y comentarles también acerca de los apoyos gubernamentales, los últimos apoyos gubernamentales. Bien, pues empezando aquí con la parte de la carta, pues yo creo que de hecho ahorita parte de su agenda habló también sobre todo lo que de alguna manera ha estado impactando COVID. Y COVID pues definitivamente ha golpeado tremendamente lo que es la industria de los restaurantes. Y bueno, definitivamente eso ha hecho, como les digo, que no hemos podido abrir nuestro tercer turno y que, pues que también hemos estado teniendo a nivel nacional una crisis fuertísima en este caso de la fuerza laboral. Entonces estos dos aspectos nos han impactado de una manera fuerte y bueno, pues es por eso que ahorita estamos recurriendo con ustedes a retomar esta parte de los apoyos que en un momento dado la ciudad de Edimburgo, cuando todo era bonito, cuando no había COVID, cuando había inversiones y demás, se ofreció este esfuerzo, ¿verdad? Este estímulo en este caso a nuestro consejo para invertir en Edimburgo. Y bueno, pues en aquel entonces se acordó invertir en 2 tiendas, que fue la tienda de UTRGV de Taco Palenque, y invertir también en lo que fue la tienda que está en el Shops, acá por la calle de Trenton, y se abrió el Palenque Grill. Entonces, pues ahorita ya toca el cierre del tercer año, es el tercer estímulo. Y sí, estamos de acuerdo que dentro de los compromisos que se hicieron fue la parte de cubrir la plantilla con 50 empleos. Esto se logró muy bien con el grill. Grill estamos cerrando con una plantilla muy por encima de los 50, pero en Taco Palenque es donde tenemos esta situación donde no hemos podido pues, reabrir nuestro tercer turno y completar toda nuestra fuerza laboral. Entonces, esa es la parte del primer punto y de antemano pues les agradecemos mucho su consideración al respecto. Aquí estamos presentando lo que viene siendo el comportamiento de las ventas que tuvimos en el 2020 contra el 2021. Y aquí en la parte final, en el bottom line de este análisis, vemos que nuestras ventas comparados un año contra otro han bajado un 5%. Entonces, ese es uno de los datos que nos pidieron que preparáramos y así es como se comportó 2020 contra 2021. Ahí lo podemos ver semana a semana, cómo se ha estado comportando este indicador de las ventas. Y aquí está el comportamiento de nuestra plantilla. Como ahorita lo comentó mi compañero, a raíz de la pandemia, cuando se declaró ya como pandemia el COVID, nosotros tuvimos que cerrar comedor y estuvimos abriendo puro to-go, puro drive-thru. Después se abre digamos los comedores, porque así lo permite pues las disposiciones de CDC. Sin embargo, no hemos podido reabrir nuestro tercer turno precisamente porque COVID estuvo manejando algunos toques de queda para el turno de noche. Y por otro lado, la zona en donde está ubicada la tienda en particular es una zona universitaria, donde ya a esas horas de la noche pues no hay tránsito, no hay consumo, no hay gente, ¿verdad? Entonces, ese gap, que son alrededor de 13 personas, corresponde también en parte a nuestro tercer turno. O sea, si abriéramos ya 24 horas la tienda, como es lo usual a como estuvo diseñado ese negocio, pues ya tuviéramos también esas 50 personas. Ahora, esto de abrir tercer turno no es exclusivo de Edinburgh. Así estamos también en Huetlaco, y así estamos en Harlingen, y así estamos en San Juan, y así estamos en otras locaciones del Valle, donde nada más estamos trabajando 2 turnos, ¿verdad? Entonces, esta parte del promedio mensual que estamos logrando se debe a esa, digamos, no apertura del tercer turno. A lo largo del año, ahí vemos lo que fue diciembre. Claro, diciembre es un mes de mucha venta. Ahí, digamos, subió la plantilla, pero a la hora de regresar a los niveles de venta normales, pues esa plantilla ya no se justificó, y por eso da ese 37 de promedio. Aquí está una pequeña prueba de los esfuerzos que hemos hecho en cuanto a los esfuerzos de reclutamiento. Bueno, pues aquí tenemos una muestra de cómo hemos estado participando en las ferias de la ciudad de Edimburgo. Aquí está, pues, aquí aparece Taco Palenque dentro de la lista de los participantes. Aquí también tenemos mucho contacto con Workforce Commission para cuestiones de ferias de empleo con ellos. Estamos apareciendo en Facebook continuamente, tenemos una campaña continua de estar apareciendo en Facebook, donde pues invitamos, en este caso, a aplicar a alguna de nuestras posiciones de crew members. Aquí tenemos otros posts que también hemos hecho, desde Twitter, ¿verdad? Aquí lo podemos ver también, aquí están estas muestras. Aquí estamos en LinkedIn también como parte de los esfuerzos que hemos hecho por reclutar. Y aquí tenemos, si se fijan, cómo estamos continuamente apareciendo en una bolsa de trabajo electrónica que es Indeed. Aquí en Indeed esto, pues claro, representa una inversión para nosotros, pero estamos siempre presentes, siempre estamos presentes. Oye, estamos solicitando crew members, aplica aquí. Y sí, ¿verdad? Afortunadamente todos estos esfuerzos nos han ayudado a cubrir la rotación. Como dice mi compañero Melo, hay gente que por diferentes circunstancias causan baja, y bueno, pues tenemos que reponerlas, ¿verdad? Entonces todos estos esfuerzos han sido muy significativos para ayudarnos a cubrir rotación. Pero de todas maneras sí, el hecho de abrir un tercer turno lo cuestionamos por esas 2 razones. Una, por la oferta y la demanda, y 2, por tener la plantilla necesaria para abrir un tercer turno, ¿verdad? Entonces, esas son las 2 razones principales. Y ya dentro de los puntos que nos pidieron que tocáramos, es el que se refiere sobre los apoyos de gobierno, lo que es el plan de protección de payroll. Y aquí lo que les podemos comentar es que en este caso nosotros no participamos en este último estímulo, en este último apoyo, por no cumplir con algunos de los requisitos que pide, en este caso, la federación. Entonces, no participamos pues en ningún apoyo o en esta última emisión de apoyos que se maneja. Y bueno, pues nosotros les agradecemos mucho su tiempo, su consideración, y bueno, pues como pueden ver, pues esto obedece a una serie de circunstancias que fueron generadas precisamente por la pandemia, ¿verdad? Entonces, no sé si Melo, quisieras agregar algo dentro de lo que estoy ahorita compartiendo, o si tuvieran alguna pregunta en particular, con mucho gusto para ventilarla.
We're good.
Blanca, the contract states you need 50 and 50 at each location, right?
Correct, yes. 50 for Taco Palenque on University and 50 for Palenque Grill at the shops.
So together they're at 126 between 89 and 37. And do we account for FTEs, full-time employees?
Yes, they have to be full-time employees.
Okay.
So what you saw on their monthly report was full-time employees.
So they were 100% at one site and 62% at another, if you do the math, right? Okay.
I have a question. Did they not participate in the PPP because the second round because it wasn't available to them, or was that by choice?
They participated in the first round, but the second round, I believe they did not. Mr. Mello, would you mind responding to that question?
Yes, on the second round, we were not viable to, we were, yeah, we were not viable to apply for the second one, yes. Exactly.
You were not eligible?
Eligible, yeah.
They did not qualify,
Second.
yeah. I think in the second round, you had to have a certain percentage of losses to be able to apply for that money. My opinion is that they in good faith tried to recruit, and I completely agree with the assessment that the third shift would have pushed them past that. I appreciate the presentation, and I think that we should consider staff's recommendation.
I agree with that. I should be at 80 employees, somewhere in the range of 60 for the same thing of we have the carousel effect. So I think they made a pretty good effort.
Correct.
The only feedback I would offer, Milo, is I was on your website and your salaries, team members, general team member $10, general worker $9, delivery drivers $8. I would still say that's part of the problem. This is on your website. In terms of salaries that you're paying your teams. And so, just a consideration that hiring quality folks, you got to look at your pay structure. So we're blaming the pandemic, and rightfully so, but restaurants, businesses that adjusted pay are not having a problem.
I think the government also gave them a bunch of money, and then
That's a
wanting
whole
to stay
different-
home doesn't help the situation either. I know I've seen across McAllen, Edinburgh, a lot of restaurants having a hard time, and I see particularly restaurants having a hard time, and I think it would maybe help a little bit if you were to raise your salaries a little bit. It might help get some people in, but I wouldn't say that you would definitely get more people in because people don't want to come and work.
Yeah, and I would be inclined to agree with both you gentlemen if the market was at its full capacity. Of course, we know that supply chains, like they were saying, the night shift, less people on the road, less truckers, less this and that. So all that, the COVID and the pandemic in itself has affected all the revenues, and so they've got to, it's a hard sales versus wages, and as far as I know, I'm looking at the contract. I don't think I know we're just giving advice to hopefully raise the number of employees, but the incentive package was not based on hourly wages at all. And I just think that the pandemic and all the way it's impacted the entire economy is the only reason why this business was not able to meet those benchmarks.
I agree with all of you guys. If there's no more questions for Melo or Mr. Alanis, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve staff recommendation of the payment.
I second that motion.
All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate
Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Señora Denise, muchas gracias. Muy buena presentación.
Muchas gracias por todo.
Thank you.
Moving on.
Gracias, buenas tardes.
Gracias. Moving on to agenda item E, presentation update on Trenton Plaza. I believe we have several individuals here.
We do have a couple of individuals from Origo Works present for a presentation, and I will go ahead and share your presentation on through here.
Thank you. Good afternoon, board members. Thank you for allowing us a few minutes just to give you an update on Trenton, 508, 506 Trenton Road. For the record, my name is Carlos Varela. I am the managing member for Barco Real Estate, the owner of the site. I'm also a partner with Javier Huerta with Origo Works, which is the development firm that we formed to do developments in South Texas. So we're hopeful that with this presentation of the site and giving you an update of our status and our project, that we can somehow move forward and get this site built. We are planning an roughly 11,000 square foot retail site on this development. As you know, for background purposes, we bought 506 and 508 Trenton back in March of 2021, so just a few months ago. In June, we approached the city with our plans, just going through a regular development like we do day in and day out. We discovered in June that the site, we did not have a plat for the site, and so with the engineers, we started working on platting this site. Somehow it went through and sold to us without an actual plat. So in August, we submitted for a plat. While we were waiting for this platting process to go through, we continued to work through getting our permit set. We are a full-fledged development company, so we do our in-house. Javier Huerta is an architect, and so we do our design, we do our construction, we do all of the development, asset management, and resale sales and leasing. So in working with the city, getting the site fully drawn, getting CDs and a permit set, that took us through October, and we submitted for a permit. There was a couple of meetings that were canceled. We felt, okay, it was COVID related. There's it's happened before where we have meetings with cities with planning and zoning and they get canceled. In November, we were then notified by the city that, beknownst to us, there was a restriction on this site, and found the history that everyone's aware of today, that how this site was acquired, and the restrictions on the site. So that's where we are today. We feel that this development, this second phase, would add value to Trenton Road. It's an additional 11,000 square foot. We now own the neighboring strip, and just for background purposes, I own a different firm, and with that firm we operate franchises, and we came across this site because the landlord offered us the site. He knew that we were real estate developers as well. So we operate the Tropical Smoothie through another company that we own, and it's a great tropical smoothie. It's actually our best in our network and across the state. So we're very excited about that end cap and its performance, and we always wondered why the strip we were in was not taking off. And through the process and some research, we felt that maybe it was the operator, and that maybe we could do a better job operating that strip. Today, phase one, what we call phase one, which was the existing site that we bought back in March, it was probably around 20% occupied. We are down to one site, one actual tenant missing, one of the suites empty. So we're very excited. We feel that we can, in a year, have this development built and in market, and quickly lease it. And I think as an EDC, there's nothing better than something that's going to generate tax, employment, and so we feel that this site can do that. We know the circumstances. Unfortunately, we were unfamiliar with that when we got into this property. We wouldn't have gotten into the property knowing the restriction that it had. Apparently, when the EDC I guess made the deal with the original owner, that was under one entity. Then subsequently, it was transferred into a trust, and then we bought it from the trust. And during that process, were probably for lack of a better word, maybe negligence on behalf of a title company that could not see that transfer was not the way it was supposed to happen. But we are there today. We bought it with cash. We paid cash for that site, and that's where we're at today. We feel that we understand, after reading some of the history, we understand what the goal of the EDC was, and I think that's where we're at today. I think we are the developers that can achieve what the goal was for this site, and we can move pretty quick. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Or maybe Javier.
So what was your last name, sir?
I'm sorry?
I know your first name is Carlos, but what was your
Varela, Carlos Varela.
Varela, Mr. Varela.
Board members, I'm sorry, if I may interject. In addition to the updates by Mr. Varela, there are additional updates that the staff has. However, those are pertaining to the litigation with Mr. Dan Damon, the previous owner. And so I would advise that portion be done in executive session. And so I would also advise that if the board does proceed with discussions at this point, that they be limited to just questions pertaining to plans for the plaza, what they want to do in the future, and maybe refrain from getting into any subject matter related to the lawsuit.
So nothing in regards to the purchase or how it happened?
That's correct.
The plans look great. We appreciate your presentation.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any more?
So, yes, as a matter of fact, we've had several LOIs, which they're obviously non-binding LOIs, and we weren't ready to move on and actually sign leases just because we like to break ground, but our process was to actually execute those LOIs and execute leases, but we like to do what we say we're going to do. So if we give a possible tenant a date, we live by that date.
Would it be such as restaurants or retail? What just not, you don't have to get in detail, but what type of footprint do you think we'll see there?
Sure. So we would do as much as we can with restaurants, but it's usually about 35-40% of it becomes food and beverage, coffee shops to actual restaurants with bigger space. So we do our developments like the way they're set up. Bigger restaurants take 2 or even 3 of the suites, but they are meant to have the small operators with 1,200, 1,500 square feet type operators. And in commercial real estate, it's all about the mix. Having the right mix gets you a successful site. But it would be a good retail mix.
Thank you.
Yeah, in this case, we do have about 4 restaurants interested, and we do only have 2 to 3 because of parking requirements that we can fit in there. So it's a great demand for it.
And gentlemen, so your presence today is to let us know, thank you, it's a beautiful project. Like you said, it's what we've been striving for all along. But today you're here because you want to make sure and be able to work with the EDC board, or what are your plans?
So we feel that the green light is in the EDC's hands, and I know Mr. Ochoa is here present, and he might counsel you differently, and that's obviously his role, and he does a great job for the city, so we understand that. But we do feel that today we probably have 3 options. And option 1 would be that the EDC gives us a green light and we go and we build this site. That would be the best outcome, and that's why we're here today. That, for us, would get us moving, get the investment going, and we feel that we've already been delayed, maybe 5 or 6 months with this. We've paid property tax on it this last year, and so having an empty lot that's just generating expense is not our goal. So today we're hoping that we get a green light and we move on, and we come back with EDC playing Fiesta music because we participated in Fiesta or something like that. I'm sorry? So it all depends on tenant improvement, and if obviously we get national franchises, we do turnkey projects, and that really drives cost. But it's $2.5 million at a minimum, probably.
And so, is that option 1, option 2?
So options 2 and 3 start getting a little uglier for us. It involves some situations that we're trying to avoid. And obviously we have a title policy. The strip next door was financed by Mr. Damon, and so he is currently we have a promissory note on the 508, the existing development, and so they just start getting uglier options. It's just something we don't want to even consider, but we have engaged counsel, and we would need to protect our interest. We paid cash on this property, and so we would try to protect our interest through title policy or through means with the seller. I don't know.
For the empty lot?
We did, and we paid some cash on the strip. So part of the idea was come in, design it, redevelop it, and then refinance it under one package with one financial institution.
And I just want to know, how did you find out about that property? Did you inquire about it, or did somebody?
No. Yeah, so we were the operator. We through a company that I own. Yeah, through one of the companies that I own, we own that Tropical Smoothie, and we operate franchises. And so that Tropical Smoothie, our landlord, Mr. Damon, offered us the property through a broker, and so that's how we were engaged and saw some potential because it is a great producer for us in our network.
Well, before I get an objection, over here to my left, I guess I'll stop my questions.
Looking at Omar's face.
Okay.
So I got a question. How long would it take you to construct a building this size from start to finish?
So in normal times or in COVID times, today we do plan accordingly, and we do buy a lot of the materials up front, but if anyone that's involved in construction, supply chain issues are real. Today, we have stopped this development, and there's some activities that need to happen, like getting back in front of financial institutions, presenting our project, et cetera, et cetera. But once we break ground, less than 12 months,
This project should be 10 months, no more than 10 months.
Okay, so is that 10 months for the actual building and shell, or is that 10 months including the tenants and the finish outs and everything that you'll be doing with the building?
Right, so we start promoting day one, right? Okay. And so in month 6 or 7, we can start doing things jointly with tenants, right? And the 10 months is shell. Okay. And but if we plan it accordingly, month 9, 10, we're already working on finish outs. Before we actually finish the shell, we're already doing plumbing work and all that site work.
In a normal year, in 12 months in a normal non-COVID year, we would be able to have that building with 2 finish outs easily. Finish outs take anywhere from 2 to 3 months, but when you're doing shell, you can start, like Carlos was saying, in 6 months you can start doing some of that shell, but some of that finish out. But right now it's just every just so you guys know, every week that we don't sign a contract on like the steel of the building, we have to reprice it. No one holds any pricing more than a few days anymore. It's that volatile market right now.
And I guess just for in the spirit of transparency, being that this is going to go executive, can we just summarize why the gentlemen are here, or where, is there something that you can say, Omar, so that it's on the record?
Sure, and this has been discussed in the open previously before. So the EDC had previously conveyed the property to Mr. Dan Damon under Edinburgh Plaza LLC. This was a little over 5 years ago. There was a condition in the deed of conveyance that a plaza had to be built within 5 years of that conveyance. And if not, the property would revert back to the EDC. And so that condition existed within the deed. Because the plaza was not built at the time that the deed asked for it to, the reversion clause does kick in. The EDC was not aware of the conveyance between Mr. Damon and Mr. Varela. And so once that was discovered, the EDC filed suit against Mr. Damon, and that's currently pending. So that's trying to be worked out to figure out the situation.
Yeah, and
price?
I would say it's around 1.1. I can get you the exact number, but it was around 1.1.
Okay.
And just filling in the gaps, this project came to the EDC for an extension using COVID as a reason why they weren't able to accomplish their benchmarks much, right? Something like Taco Palenque, where they couldn't meet their. But in this case, it was, of course, doing the building. Do you remember the date of that, when he came and asked for an extension? Or it was an extension. It was, I think we had a year left in the initial plan.
So so now I do kind of want to stop and be careful that we don't muddy up the facts by saying statements that are not accurate. Since this is a public meeting. So I would prefer not to get into the details of when presentations were made, when requests were made, and all of those. Our record has already been built, so I'd rather rely on that.
And that's why I referred it to you, because I didn't want to fumble that.
I appreciate everything, gentlemen. Anybody have any more questions for them?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It looks beautiful.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Do we have anybody representing Dan Damon or his attorney, or anybody that would like to speak, or did they? Nope. So then, based on council's advice, I'd entertain a motion to move agenda item E into executive session.
I make a motion.
Second. All in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time. Moving on to agenda item F. Discussion and possible action for the property taxes at 6930 Democracy Drive. Do we have anyone presenting on this one? I don't know, Mark, are you gonna?
Sure. Well, the representative is headed to the podium. I'll just cover the high points again. This was on the agenda for the last meeting. There are two pending real estate transactions. I believe Mr. Han is representing one of them at Lot 7 on the industrial park. Those are in the description on the item there. One is for a company called Siddons Martin. The other one is for Jet Media LLC. These are two contracts that the EDC has entered into and the board has approved. Through the process of trying to close on those transactions, a lien was discovered on Lot 7 for delinquent property taxes. So what we are asking for today is for approval to pay the delinquent property taxes subject to these two deals going through. But I'll wait to talk about the staff sort of recommendation justification until after Mr. Hanna answers any questions you'd like to ask him.
Yeah, so good evening, everyone. Last week when we were here and we talked about Siddons Martin, one of the things that was offered by the staff while we get past this tax problem that you would work out with the county is a potential land lease. And initially we were open to it, whatever it takes to get the deal done. But unfortunately, the financial institution that would be giving the construction loan, they have to have a superior lien, and it wouldn't work out with a land lease. So the only option is to purchase it and to close it, and we want to be able to close next week, and we're ready to. and then start the building process. You know, as the gentleman was saying earlier, the engineer, every day that we don't start, construction prices are going up. We've already put down a deposit of $150,000 for the steel before it went up 14%, but there's other, you know, items that could still go up. And we have to turn in the building. We have a date of July 15th, but we're obviously not going to meet that. But we want to meet it this year. So we're hoping that we can put this behind us, close on the property, and bring a great regional business to the city of Edinburgh.
I appreciate you going back, sorry.
Well, I have a question. You guys are ready to start building?
We still have to go through the planning process, but our contractor has kind of already started preliminary with some of the planners here.
Blueprints and everything are done?
Yeah, we have everything. Yeah.
I appreciate you going back to work with us, and you know, I know we had some thoughts and ideas that the staff shared with you guys. We really appreciate it. And just for the record, this did happen roughly a decade ago. No one here was accountable for it, and it showed up at title policy as a disclosure. And I think from then, Omar's been working with the county to see if we can find a resolution, which I guess we're at an impasse from the last meeting.
We're here now,
yeah. So I know we have Citizens Martin, we have Jet Media, and there's still, I believe, a 3.5 acre tract in the middle that is that we can still sell in the future. This would be taxes for all 8 acres, including both of those and the extra land, I believe. That would catch us up and get things moving in the right process. That being said, I don't know if anybody has any more questions, comments.
The staff's recommendation is to continue negotiating with the appraisal district?
So staff recommendation on this is kind of 2 parts here. So one, if you look under the justification on the cover memo to the agenda item, just to show what the numbers look like net, this is going to end up in about $287,000 net proceeds to the EDC. So, you know, the money we would earn from the transactions would offset the property tax bill, and we'd still retain a portion of the land for a future project. You know, we're doing everything we can to try to lower that tax bill. We have not been successful in any of those appeals yet. Ideally, this would have showed up in some sort of due diligence process if it had been clear who owned that property. Staff was unaware that, you know, something like this was going to pop up at the last second and prevent these deals from closing. But we try to do what we can to remedy the situation. But for us, we'd rather have the 2 projects there and be able to clear up that delinquent tax bill that will free up that 3rd piece of property there on the lot for us. So yeah, we are recommending that the board approve taking care of the property tax bill. We are also going to ask Mr. Han on behalf of the development to sign a development agreement that will ensure a successful outcome for this project should we move forward with closing the transaction.
I think we'd be fighting an uphill battle and trying to get them to take away those penalties and stuff like that. And I think we need to nip this thing in the butt and take care of it today.
I agree with you, and I know last time we had asked who was addressed to, and the tax bills were coming to Green Cold in their name and not ours. So that could be another reason. But I agree. I think we discussed it at length last time and gave some options.
Is there still some back office work we can do to try to collect in terms of, you know, obviously we pay it to move forward, right? There's still $200-something thousand that really the community's going to pay, that really we shouldn't be paying. Someone else should be paying. Mm-hmm. And so is there a remedy, whether we pay it up front, but still some response from us, from a either litigation perspective?
So the short answer is yes. The owner of Green Cold still exists, right? It's just a matter of finding them potentially filing a lawsuit and serving that person with a lawsuit. Obviously, the ability to recover, who knows where that would go, but that is an option.
Did Green Coal shut down, Omar?
Yes, Green Coal did shut down.
They're done.
It is no longer a going concern.
Okay.
Yeah, but if they ever come back up, that could be something that will merit hopefully them paying the community back.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with hoping.
Yeah.
But we'd have to litigate it. We'd have to litigate it and get a judgment against Green Coal and then try to execute on it. So, I mean, it just depends on how much money we want to put behind it. Are we going to put good money to chase bad money?
Well, where were you putting $210,000 of good money that wasn't our fault? So,
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. I mean, it's a loss, and I wish we could, get a response or get some kind of resolution with the taxing entity, but it looks like that's going to take a while, and meanwhile, we could lose these deals. That's what it's sounding like to me.
And I think that we still have to do a better job of trying to track these properties that we have, and so that this doesn't happen again. Because this got caught in between somewhere where we didn't find out. Taxing entities were still taxing. They were sending notices to somebody. Somebody wasn't paying attention, and now here's where we are.
Yeah, that was a process that was, it's a good recommendation. That was a process that was kind of already, staff was already engaged in it. We have pulled deed history for everything we think we own. Staff's also talking about possibly working with a title company to go ahead and do a full history on everything we think we own. Kind of given the state of things when the EDC transitioned over, we're doing our best to try to make sense of everything that was done. Unfortunately, some of these things pop up every once in a while that just catch us completely off guard.
Appreciate that. That being said, I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to pay the taxes. Is that the correct motion? Is that the correct? Pay the back taxes?
Just real quick, I know you all are ready to make a motion. There was discussion about a development agreement that would go along with this. So my recommendation would be to be clear, right, that the board will be moving forward this subject to a final development agreement.
So if we worded it, we're approving to pay the property taxes and
In lieu of development agreement.
in lieu of development agreement.
And subject to the terms of a final development agreement.
You want to state that?
Make a motion as stated.
Make a motion as stated. Sorry.
A second.
Second. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. One quick comment. I assume the city council meeting will be in February, so the tax roll for January plus the penalties will be added. Is there any way that maybe we can get a quick special meeting before February 1st to pay less fees?
We can look into that, and if not that, contacting the appraisal district, right, and seeing if we can get a short extension so that we don't have those extra penalties.
Excellent.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item G, presentation discussion over project expenditure guide.
This is a very quick, just sort of informational item, no actions required here. Some questions have come up through the course of staff working with incentive applicants and questions from others, including some questions we've received from board members about what can be a somewhat convoluted sort of state framework for what EDCs can spend money on. So we asked Omar if he could put together just a very brief summary, and so in the packet there's a kind of 1 to 2 page, I think I'll call this very brief when it comes to state law, 1 to 2 page summary of what constitutes an eligible expenditure for a Type A EDC. So if we're incorporating this into our review process and staff's analysis for incentive applications, we're going to post this on the website. But it's a handy cheat sheet where if you get questions from people about, hey, I've got this going on, is this something the EDC could potentially invest in? This is something you can point to pretty quickly, and hopefully it's self-explanatory. So no action required, just informational at this point.
I know I appreciate it, and I'm sure you guys do. That we get asked a multitude of questions, so it'd be nice to have this guide. Anybody have any questions for Brian and Block on this one?
I think this is something probably to digest a bit, and then you can always come back to us and we can have discussions.
That's smart. If everybody wants to review, and if they have any more questions or comments, just reach back out to Brian Blanca. All right. Moving on to the next item, I will entertain a motion to enter executive session.
Motion to enter executive session.
Second. All in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. It is 11 p.m. We are now entering executive session. Who's what? Aaron's birthday was yesterday.
Oh, hey, Aaron, happy birthday.
Are we back on? Yep. All right, it is 7:26 p.m. If I hear no objections, I will re-enter open session. Right. Re-entering open session at 7:27 p.m. We took no action in executive session. Do we have any further discussion or any comments or topics? No. One thing I'd like to say is happy birthday, Aaron. Heard your birthday was yesterday. Happy belated birthday. Hope you had a great day and the rest of your week. All right. With that being said, I will entertain a motion at 7:27 p.m. for adjournment. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Meeting adjourns. Thank you very much, everyone.